Hi there, I am Melissa Morris. I am the founder and lead consultant at Agency Authority. We help busy agency owners stop being the bottleneck, get the systems and processes in place to scale efficiently, and start actually delegating effectively to their team. I have with me today my friend, previous client, Kelly McLaughlin of From Scratch Fundraising, and I'm going to give her a minute to introduce herself and share a little bit more about her business.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. As Melissa said, I'm Kelly McLaughlin. I'm the founder and CEO of From Scratch Fundraising. We help nonprofits raise more dough while not burning anything. And so we come in, we help nonprofit organizations with their individual giving programs. And we have a couple of different services that we provide, a couple different pricing levels so that we're the right fit for every organization trying to get started or course correct an individual giving program.
Awesome. And by the way, Kelly's brand is so on point. It is adorable. This baking from scratch theme, you heard it with her dough, the burning out. It's so good. Please, if nothing else, just go look at her website to peek at her branding because it's so, so good. Okay, so Kelly and I started working together back in November of this past year, 2024.
Yeah.
And that is relevant. We're going to get to that more in a minute. But talk to me a little bit about what you were feeling in your business and what made you reach out to work together.
Yeah, when we originally reached out to work together, we actually had been in a place where we had some set services that we really stood behind. We had worked for a few years on not doing a million different things, but really niching into our superpower, which is starting individual giving programs from scratch, which is why we're From Scratch Fundraising. We had rebranded in January of 2024 to From Scratch Fundraising to really drive home that was our specialty, is that starting individual giving programs. And so we had built a service that we were still experimenting with a little bit, but I was getting to a point where I was pretty sure we were done experimenting. It was working. We were seeing the clients get results. And what I was really looking for was a way to optimize and make sure we were tracking. Because I own my agency, I homeschool my daughter, I volunteer a ton in the community. And so I felt like I really needed to make sure I knew exactly where everything was all the time. And that was where we had struggled before.
Yeah.
And luckily I knew you through Natalie,
Yeah.
who we had both coached with. And so, yeah, reaching out to you made a lot of sense to me. It was just everything feels really like I need somebody to mold it and shape it,
Yes.
but we know what needs to go into it. So when we reached out to you, that's where I was at. I really know what my services are. I just want to get more efficient at delivering them because we are at this place where I'm done experimenting. We're in this rinse repeat. We're just going to bring this client through the exact same process every single time. There are clear steps, all of that. And so that's what we were looking to formalize and make sure we were tracking better.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, too, a lot of the desire for that was for more effective delegation. I know you were really feeling like you were hitting your own capacity, right?
Yes.
And you're like, I'm not going to be able to serve. I know this is dialed in. I know I'm getting the transformation, but I can't serve more until I have more support. So this idea of what can we get in place? What can we get out of Kelly's hat and into a project management tool so that delegation can feel really effective and you would be able to expand your capacity?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Perfect. So we got started in November. We were working. I know we were even talking about what a potential next hire might look like. We're working and spending some time on this higher ticket offer that you have. And then January came. And why don't I know, I'm sure most know, but let's get us all on the same page here. What started happening in your industry in January?
Yeah, I mean, the big kind of earthquake that happened in the industry was the Trump administration stopped paying contracts out to a lot of nonprofit organizations. And so a number of my clients were reliant on that because, again, we specialize in organizations who are starting individual giving programs. So they have recognized that their revenue streams are limited and maybe a little at risk. And so they are starting to work with us to get kind of the sustainability and the revenue diversity that individual giving provides to nonprofit organizations. But of course, then a lot of them leveraged USAID funding, ADA funding, various things like that. And while all of the clients we were working with were recognizing that they needed this this revenue stability and everything, they hadn't gotten there because they were just started working with us. And so a lot of our clients came to me and were asking to get out of their contracts, were saying, oh, we'd really love to continue, but we can't renew at the end of your contract, all of these things, which was just a gut punch because they were happy with me when we were building was working for them. All of that, like all of the good business best practice, we had it. It was in place. And because of this shift that we had nothing to do with, we ended up, pretty much clientless, which was terrifying.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, when you're in an industry where it's about serving people, I wanted to be as flexible as possible with contracts and let people out and understand that they couldn't renew. But that was terrifying on the business end side because everything was just up in the air. And I mean, I feel like we were on the lucky end because so many organizations had to lay off most or all of their staff, shut down certain service lines, all kinds of, there's just been incredibly negative upheaval in the nonprofit industry. That's been, really devastating for somebody who's been in this industry for 20 years to watch happen.
Yeah. And I think, regardless of your political standpoints or viewpoints, the fact remains that these were seismic shifts that were going on, and the effects and consequences of those pen strokes were very, very significant and impacted a lot of people in a very big way. And I remember, getting on one of our calls after these things were going through, and it was like, so here's what's happening, right? Like, and you were sharing a lot what you just did. And I know prior to them, you were, fairly regularly getting leads. You're like, I can send out some messages. Like, even your sales process was just really feeling like it was clicking, and there was a degree of predictability. If I send out these messages, I'm going to get these high ticket coming in. And we were already spacing out, and it was like, okay, but now there's a lot of apprehension to sign on for any significant amount of support. But they need support. Like, they needed help.
Yes.
And like something that felt a little bit more long term, like all of this uncertainty, which I no doubt is still lingering for many right now. And so we started talking, and it's like, okay, what can we shift? What can we shift? What can we do? So talk to me a little bit about the shifts, conversations we had, things that you were doing on your end with clients, and how we started working things to navigate these epic shifts in the industry.
Yeah. So luckily we got into a point in our engagement where everything for our big ticket service, we had really gotten out on paper, and we had SOPs for, and we were getting ready to build it out. And I think you and Ray had like started building it out in ClickUp for me. And so that was actually a great starting point, because realizing we could look at paper and say, oh, wait, okay, this is how we do this service. And then taking what we were hearing from people on consultation calls or our current clients to see, okay, well, if $3,000 or $5,000 a month doesn't work for you, for us to be 100% hands-on, like, what is the amount, right? And what I kept hearing from people was that 10,000, our cap is around 10,000. And so that's where Amy and I started, was looking at, okay, well, if the cap is 10,000 and we still want to deliver more or less the same impact, where do we cut back? Because I mean, from an engagement that's $5,000 a month for a year, $10,000 shift. It's a really huge shift. Because we were really essentially coming in and becoming our client's development department, right? And so that's where we started, was really looking at, okay, how can we deliver similar value to that big ticket thing? But where do we strip out things that allow us to still give people a strategy plan? We started like really saying, like, what are the essence of the things we need to do? And what we really realized was like, it's a strategy plan. It is messaging development, that baseline, like a messaging guide, building out or at least recommending a tech stack and giving them a work plan for their tech stack, and then training, right, was what we really decided was the key. um and and so of course, like, we wanted to come in and be their full development department and like run their events and run their year-end campaign and all of that kind of stuff. But once we started pulling all of that out of the engagement, we realized we did still have a product that was going to set people up for success. And instead of us doing all of the copywriting, it was like, okay, can we create this messaging guide instead of doing all the copywriting? So that they at least have a baseline template for everything. And so that's where we just started stripping it out and stripping it out and stripping it out. So we had something that we were like, oh, okay, like this actually would make sense for us as a business to deliver for $10,000. And it still feels like a really good value to the client, because that's the other side of it. Was a lot of clients were very skeptical of even like $10,000 for just a strategy plan. Like, I'm not going to do that. So we wanted to make sure it also felt high impact and like a big problem solver for clients. And so, yeah, and that's where having everything already laid out was just made it so easy to go, okay, well, not that. We need to keep this. To make this work, when we're taking this out, we need to put this in. And so it was really a great building block where we were able to like redo everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love so much that you shared that, because that's always where I start with all of our clients. Like, we're not going to jump right into a tool. We're not going to start writing the SOP to X, Y, and Z. We're really just going to write down that workflow. What are we doing? What are the deliverables? What does it look like? What are our promises to our client? And I give you kudos too for your perspective on that, because I think it would have been really easy to say, we just spent 2 months mapping out this offer that I feel like I can't sell anymore, right? But instead, we said, no, this was really valuable. And we see, and it made it really easy then, like you said, to say this, not this, this, not this, pare this down, move this around. And so that 2 months of work was not wasted time and energy. It was laying some really strong foundations for better flexibility, this idea of being nimble and moving. And I think it did really support you in being able to take quick action on that new offer. Absolutely. And we were talking about this, right? We were talking about this a little bit before the call too, is I will often hear sometimes, agency owners and business owners have this belief of, oh, but if we have these systems and if we have these processes, we're going to feel trapped and we're not going to be able to be creative, or we're not going to be flexible, and we're going to lose all of our mojo. And from what I'm hearing from you, it was exactly the opposite. Yeah. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for us, I think having the clarity of knowing what was where allowed us to really sit with that. And like I said, and say, okay, we love this, but this is not delivering an essential thing for a client. This is not an essential thing. This is an essential thing, but this takes a lot of time. Let's look at what could we do? And I think that was a lot of the time you and I spent too, is just like, okay, I used to do it this way. Can it be a survey now? Can it be a form? Can it be this? So that we're delivering the same thing to the client, but instead of it being a call, it's a form now that the client fills out. And so getting that really, really clear was really, really helpful, because we could see where were the big time sucks and what were the things that were really efficient. So we could lean into the efficiencies and reimagine the things that we knew, that we knew would take more time. And how, are these valuable? Do we keep it or do we lose it? Do we iterate it in a different way, that kind of thing. And so we were really able to very quickly, I mean, and Amy and I did this in like an hour or two, looking at the SOPs, right? Of like stripping it down and everything. And I still remember we got on a call with you and I was like, here's what we're thinking instead. And you're like, okay, let's remap. Let's do that. And you had kind of like pointed some things out. And I literally got off the call with you and I had 2 clients that desperately wanted to work with me. But they were just price pointed out. And we got off the call and I was like, all right, like Melissa says she can make this work.
Here we go.
And ClickUp, and I have confidence that that'll happen. And I think this is what we're going to deliver. And I like very quickly wrote up the like flimsiest, worst like proposal I think I've ever produced. But I was just like, I got to get something out there because they're desperate, right? And I got to get something down on paper. And so I put it together and I sent it to both clients. Within an hour, both of them said yes.
So amazing.
These are clients I've been talking to for months, trying to figure something out. And it was this immediate, yes, that's exactly what we need. It's exactly at the price point we need. Yes, how do we sign? And then I remember then the opposite. It was me turning back to you and being like, okay, now
we got to do this.
And so that was actually really exciting too, to just have that immediate, again, it was that level of clarity. We had confidence, and then you and Ray looking at it and being like, yep, we can implement all of this. We can make this work. So then it was like, I know I've got the systems. It's going to make this work financially. It's going to make us work with the current capacity we have on our staff, all of that. It was just so easy to see that. And then it was like, and enough confidence that like I turned around and literally proposed it to a client. You blessed it, right? And so it was really interesting to watch that. And that's where we've been ever since. Is kind of, it's still scary, but what's interesting is before, I think a lot of clients, and what I wanted before was like, oh, do we really want to make this investment, right? Because I wanted them to be serious, because developing individual giving programs is that really deep investment. But after everything that happened in January, it was like our old programs, like, here, what about this? They'd be like, no,
nope,
never in a million years can I afford that. And so now what I'm seeing is it's similarly, we need to go think about this and make sure this is an investment we want to make, which is what I want the clients to do. But yeah, we've transformed it from absolutely not in your life, we're going to look somewhere else, right? To this, okay, that's okay. We really want to think about that, but that feels like something that's doable. Okay, let's do this. And usually clients are taking a week or 2 and then coming back and saying yes. So that's
amazing.
And I think that's the other thing, is it's so easy to sell too, because I can tell the clients the exact deliverables. I can tell them, if you're going to start with me in September, you will have this deliverable by November. You will have this deliverable by December, right? And so that's also, I think right now with nonprofits feeling as cash strapped as they are, something more nebulous is scary. It's really, really scary. But I have literally I have a little, I'm looking at it, which is why I'm looking off my screen, but I have a thing that's like month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. What are the deliverables? What week of the month are you going to get those deliverables? And I can pull that up while I'm on the consultation call, and clients can see exactly what they're going to get and when they're going to get it. And usually when I'm talking to them, I'm like, okay, my next opening is in September. Here are the dates when you will get all of these things. And so it has that additional, I think, impact on the client, is they're like, I can see it's not a strategy plan in some distant future. I know what date Kelly is going to deliver this to me. And I think that puts a level of confidence on our work that is really helping clients say yes.
I totally agree. That clarity, like, we can kind of keep coming back to that, like, just a lot of clarity there. And I do remember being on those calls and you're like, here's what I got. And we're looking through it and we're like, okay, well, can we make this look like this instead? Because then I know I can automate that even further. And you're like, yeah, done, do that. And I'm like, okay, if we could just tell people they're going to do this, I can add it as can we do that? You're like, yep, done. And we just like moved through this thing and we kind of pieced it around and we said, okay, this is good. And then we were able to go and implement this really effective ClickUp workflow so that it just runs for you and you can pull it up and say, sure, client, that's going to be on April 15th. How does that sound?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. No, it's
Very
been so
good.
good. It's been so good. And we've continued to refine our ClickUp things. So we've got like meeting agendas in ClickUp and all of that. And it's so much. I literally just onboarded a client last week. And it was so nice. Like I pulled up our ClickUp portal and they were like, this is incredible. Like, this is so cool. And so I was able to walk them through the whole flow, when everything will be due, all of that. And the client was just like, I mean, again, they'd already said yes, they'd already signed their contract, but then on the onboarding call to pull up that ClickUp thing and they could see exactly the things and all the links and all of that was just, again, I could see the client just being like, oh, wow. Like, okay, that's that reinforcement that we made the right decision, that, you know, it wasn't just Kelly trying to sell us on something.
Right.
There are these really cool systems to back it up. And I think that gives people a lot of confidence because I mean, right now, $10,000 in the nonprofit industry is a lot of money.
Feels like a lot. Yeah.
Huge. And so that's what I want the clients to feel is this, like, I've got you. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. There's a system. We're absolutely 100% going to deliver what we promised. And it's going to be the other thing that I think the systems have really helped with is it's really painless on the client, right?
Oh, glad you're bringing that up.
There's no question. There's no, when is Kelly going to do this? When does Kelly need me to look at this? Because we built in the client deadlines, client review of strategy, right? That's a due date in ClickUp and they can see that. And so one of the things I've done with my clients as we go into summer is like, hey, can you go and ClickUp, look at your engagement? If there are any dates that I have work assigned to you, that is not, you know, if you're going to be out of the office or on vacation or anything like that, you need to let me know so that I can rearrange due dates, right? And so, and that's something my clients have responded really positively to because they're, you know, one client did spot, they were like, I'm not going to be out of the office, but that's a big week for us programmatically. Could we shift something? And so we've been able to even serve our clients even better having these systems because then again, we're not just, it's that nimble thing, right? It's like, okay, we can shift these deadlines. I'll move this up so that I can be working on that when you're supposed to be working, when we were supposed to be doing this thing. Stay on track. Right. And
I know that was something we were really intentional about too, is looking at this and saying, okay, we need, because we had some pretty tall orders to fill, right? Like it can't be more than $10,000. It has to give them a ton of value. It can't burn Kelly and her team out, right? It has to be profitable. Okay, how do we do this, right? Like that's a tall order. And so we were very, very intentional about, like you said, like what are we going to deliver that's going to give them a ton of value, but we can do it in a really streamlined, really effective way, right? And we could point back to the data. Okay, here's the workflow that we previously had. We know what works good in here. Where do we tighten it? What do we have to get rid of? Okay, dollar amount, time amount. And you were able to look at that. We were able to work together and say, no, I feel good if I spend this amount of time and I give them the support, that this is still going to feel like a win-win. You're not going to be burning out and feel like you're working for nothing. And your client is still having a really incredible experience. They're having a really big transformation. And again, I think this all comes back to what we've been pointing to is there was a lot of clarity in your systems. You had data, like you knew how long things took you. You knew how quickly you could turn things around. You knew what the deliverables were, what you needed from the client, how they needed to show up to make all of this come together. And if you didn't have any of that, that's when business owners are getting themselves in trouble, when they just are kind of pulling things together. There's not consideration for how long is this going to take me? Does this match the price point? Or they're doing it from some guesswork versus having really moved through a process and really, done some of the work that we had done together to get that foundation in place to say, okay, I feel like I can now really craft a new package. I can really be nimble and adapt to what's going on in my industry right now. And I'm doing it from a place that feels really solid and based on data. And of course, you know, some reflections from your audience a little bit, which are also data points, like what you're kind of hearing, what's going on there, your own experience in the industry, and, you know, your own knowledge of how they work and they think and what's going to feel important to them. I think all of that came together really beautifully, and helped you instantly start winning clients in these new offers, which I was just so excited. I remember too, even at one point, my team member Ray was like, peeking in your dipsauter, she's like, Kelly just sold 2 more of the XYZs. And I was like, yes. We were like, yes, she did it.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was absolutely mind-boggling how fast that all came together. And I think what also helped, what's interesting, I think I spent so long doing it by myself because this is what I do for clients, right? Is like I set them up with systems and processes and automations and all of this. And so I think for a really long time, I was trying to do it by myself because this is what I do for other clients. Like, why can't I do this? But it's so funny, right? As good as I am at doing that for my clients, when you're trying to do it yourself,
Yeah.
I mean, one, I'm not in the same industry as my clients, right? As like now I'm providing a product as a consultant versus, you know, doing all of these donor processes and all of this kind of stuff, right? And so like one, it was adjacent, but not the same thing.
Yeah.
But also I think it was really helpful to have somebody like you who was pulling things out of my brain that I was taking for granted, or that I was kind of like, well, I know how to do that. I don't need an SOP for that, right? Like anybody could do that. Right?
And I'm like, no, they can't. So, Kelly.
Yeah, it was really nice to have you sitting there being like, but can anybody? Special Kelly thing.
Yeah.
And so it was really helpful to have that external reflection to, you know, to say, you know, no, we still need an SOP for that. And then even though we ultimately haven't hired yet, right? I've seen the value of having those SOPs when I'm overwhelmed or stressed. And, you know, the other thing we didn't talk about was like what was going on in my personal life.
A whole lot there too.
Like, you know, navigating multiple family crises and things like that. And so on days when it was just like, oh, my brain is not braining today. And oh, we do have that SOP, and usually Kelly can do it, but today Kelly needs the SOP too. And so there's even been benefits, even though we've decided to delay hiring anybody, because we did realize actually with all these efficiencies, we can do it with current staffing. So that was the other thing that was great. But yeah, it's even been helpful on those days when I'm just feeling really beat or tired or whatever, that, you know, I can come in, there's an SOP. And again, even, you know, even my own quality can be better or worse, right? Depending on
tired, there's a lot going on. You're really distracted. Absolutely. And sometimes when you're really in that, you know, feeling overwhelmed and a somewhat depleted state because of things going on in life, it can, you know, you can sit down and be like, okay, I've got 2 hours. What should I do? Right? Like, now I don't even know where to start. Okay, pull up my SOP. Where am I at? Pull up ClickUp. Where am I at? Okay. It feels really clear now.
Exactly.
What I spend the next 2 hours doing.
Exactly. And so, I mean, since working with you, I mean, we've hit every client deadline that we've promised. I actually just missed one last Friday because I was going to work on it last week, and I told you we got sick.
You were sick,
so,
yeah.
And so like, that's the first time I've had to go to a client and be like, I'm going to have to delay this. And so I can't help it. And so the client was lovely, and they were like, well, yeah, I mean, it's fine because we have till here to review it. So as long as you get it to me here, I can review it. And it was like, great. So it was like, even the client was able to be like, oh, well, as long as you have it to me here, I know that I have to get it to you there. You delaying doesn't mean I have to delay. So no problem. Right. And so again, that clarity and being able to give the client that clarity, she was able to meet my, I'm dying.
Yeah, it allowed for some flexibility. Like, it's ironic, right? But almost everybody knowing this is when I have to get it done by, this is what's supposed to happen next. it actually paved the way for some real flexibility there when you were like,
Yes.
sorry, it's not going to happen on Friday. You're
Yes.
like, that's okay. Looking at my calendar, as long as it's by Tuesday, I can still meet my Thursday for you.
Exactly.
Done.
All better. Yeah. So that's been really helpful. And I mean, we've continued to like template things out as they've looked a little different. And so, I mean, that's the other thing is the deliverable that I do have to get to this client is halfway done because it's already templated, right? I just have to put her specific stuff into it. So it's already, things are halfway done before we even get started, right? And that's what that process did for us too, is like that's part of why we haven't had to hire, because we've got all these templates. I just pull it, dump client stuff into it, and then it's really streamlined and operationalized in a way that like I was redoing every single time with every single client, and every single strategy plan we wrote looked completely different, and they still look very different because they're based on the client's nuances and everything. But we have a more standard framework. We have a more standard, these are the pieces of the plan that we put together. We have a more standard formatting for it. And that kind of thing that just has made it a lot faster to get things done.
I'm glad you shared that too. I feel like that's like a whole another conversation we could have, is about, how you can potentially even delay hiring just by creating those efficiencies, getting really clear, tightening things up. Sometimes, bringing another new hire into the mix just muddies up the water and creates more confusion right when these other things aren't in place. So I think that's also really valuable to point out. So for anybody out there who's listening and they're also feeling maybe burnt out, overwhelmed, maybe stuck, maybe they're also feeling, even if they don't serve nonprofits, right? There's other industries being impacted right now. Some people are feeling like uncertain about the economy or this or that. What would you say to them if they're feeling, also maybe nervous or unsure how to move forward?
Yeah, I think for me, and this is something like you helped me do that I do with my clients, right? Is just like get really, really clear on like what is the essential, what's essential here, right? And then how do we create systems and processes that take the things that maybe feel overwhelming or take a lot of time, and how do we see where are we doing things in a repetitive way where we can create that efficiency? Because just the brain space it frees up to be able to then, I'm not thinking about like, oh, how do I write a fundraising plan, right? I have all of it set up. We have them, they're in questionnaires and forms and surveys and things like that, right? I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what steps to take. And so as we're navigating all of this turmoil, and I think it allows me to show up with even more of my brain space for the client, because I'm not thinking about how are we doing this. I'm thinking about like, okay, what is your reality? How do we take what we know works? And that's the same thing we do. Like we're building in processes and efficiencies and standard operating procedure. We do all of that stuff with our clients, right? And so being able to say like, these are things that every organization can automate, and I already know how to do that. And here's a cheat sheet. You got it. Go. I don't need to recreate that for your agency or your nonprofit, because here it is. Here's the cheat sheet. It looks the same for everybody. And so now that I have those things, it's easier to then really dive deep into the things that do make that client unique and special and are going to really amplify their results. And I'm buying them a ton of time savings, right? And so that to me was exactly what you did for our business, was that, okay, these are things you don't need to hand do every single time. We will create a process for this. And so getting that off my plate has really meant diving into something. And I mean, honestly, when we came to you, I was really nervous about hiring somebody, right? Because I've done that before. I've been a supervisor. I know that like you lose time before you get it back when you hire somebody, right? And so I was really, really nervous about that. So it was also really exciting to realize that we didn't have to do that right while we were at this like weird crisis point. but also knowing that like when we do get to that point, everything's so clear that I think it will be easier to hand off, right? Which was originally why we came to you, right? It was like, I want to make it easier to hand off.
To hand off, yeah.
We found out we didn't need to hand it off.
No, we didn't, but that's okay.
Yeah. So I think that's what I would say is like, I see how that works for my clients. I see how it worked for me as those like finding all of those efficiency points give you back so much brain space, so much energy, so much of all of that, so that you have it for, you know, as we were doing in January, February, like navigating this whole new reality and how do we still serve clients? How do we make the same impact for a fraction of the cost? And then also just like I've continued to see it as, I mean, as I was sharing with you, we're launching a whole new branch of the business, right? Because we've found so much efficiency and everything that like, oh, we can, this other thing that's kind of been in the back of my mind, we actually can launch it now. And that's another revenue stream, and that's another thing. And so that's very exciting too, is, you know, when everything is so laid out and so clear, yeah, like you said, it doesn't box you in. It's easier to see where are the opportunities, where are these things. And I can say like, it changes the way Amy and I approach everything, right? Because as we're like getting ready to launch this new thing, we're like, okay, what would Melissa tell us to do? Like, we're gonna, okay, how do we create efficiency? How are we gonna streamline this? How are we gonna onboard? How are we gonna, you know? And so it's like, I know we can launch that without decimating the other side of our business, because we like, this is a reflex now. It's how we look at how we deliver service.
So I am hearing some massive takeaways from you here. Okay. Brand new offer, started selling right away. Didn't have to hire another team member due to all the efficiencies gained through the work, and had space to take on something you see a need for in the market, something you're passionate and is on your heart about, and opening up another revenue stream. And if I remember, your email said you took not one, but 2 vacations this summer. There we go. Such big wins. And, you know, just to kind of speak back to what you were saying about, you're like, I don't know, I do this for my other, like you do this for your clients. Like, why do I feel like this is not coming out as easily for me? And I think it, you know, it's like that cliche saying, the forest through the trees. Like, you're in it so much, you know it so well, you really start to take for granted, you know. And I remember I'd be like, okay, Kelly, you have here on your line item that you like make the presentation. I'm like, I have a feeling there's like 7 things that need to happen to like make the presentation. But in your mind, you're doing that stuff just so effortlessly. It really is flowing through you, and you can sit down and do that. But talking through, right? And you're like, oh, well, I'll just grab the slide. Well, what slide deck? Oh, well, actually, I kind of grabbed it. Okay, let's make a template slide deck, right? Well, then I have to get the data. Well, where's the data coming from? Oh, well, that's over here in this. Okay, well, wait, hold on, right? Like, let's back all of this up, and suddenly, like, make the slide deck was, you know, 10 different tasks that actually needed to be done. And then we could identify, this is the one we delegate. This is the one Kelly should. This is where we make a template. Just get rid of this one. Like, we don't even need that step. But it can be hard, right? Those blind spots are there when you just know your business. And your industry and the work you do, when you just know it so well, it can be hard to see through that. So I think that's a really, really, really common challenge. So, well, thank you so much for joining me. Please let people know where they can find out more about you.
Yes, I am Kelly at FromScratchFundraising.com, or you can find us at FromScratchFundraising.com. Kind of on a social media hiatus while we redo our marketing a little bit. But yeah, soon people will also be able to find me at neurodivergentnonprofiting.org. So that's our new side project.
So good. Yeah. Well, it was so fun working with you. And I mean, it really was inspiring to see how you just really kept a positive mindset too, through like, okay, like I said, it would have been easy to take those first couple of months and felt like that was time wasted, but seeing that this is part of the process, this is valuable. How do we shift? How do we move? And then coming out of it with such big wins. I think it was just so fun to be a part of that. So grateful I got the opportunity to support you through that. And if you're listening and you're thinking, You know, I probably got some blind spots of myself in my own business. I'm probably feeling like a bottleneck a little more often than I should. I have a special quiz for you. If you go over to youragencyauthority.com/quiz, just a couple minutes, answer a few questions, and it will tell you where some of your blind spots might be hiding and what's going on in your agency. So thank you so much, Kelly. Y'all be sure to go and check her out.
All right. Bye.